Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Podcast. I'm Zara, and today we're talking about something that so many of you have asked for: how to prepare for immigration interviews.
Hi, I'm Mark. Immigration interviews are one of the most important steps when applying for visas, permanent residency, or citizenship. And let's face it, they can also be intimidating, especially if English isn't your first language.
That's true, Mark. These interviews often require you to communicate fluently about a variety of topics: your personal history, family background, and future plans. And while you may understand English well, speaking clearly and confidently in a high-pressure situation is a whole other challenge.
Exactly. But here's the thing, with the right preparation and mindset, you can handle even the toughest interviews with confidence. In today's episode, we'll guide you through practical steps to prepare, share tips for improving fluency, and discuss how to answer tricky questions effectively.
Plus, we'll share real-life stories from people who've successfully navigated their immigration interviews. By the end of this episode, you'll have a roadmap to approach your interview with clarity and confidence.
So, grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's get started.
Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Why do immigration interviews feel so challenging?
That's a great question, Zara. I think the first big challenge is the sheer scope of the questions. You're not just talking about one area of your life, you're discussing personal history, family details, your current situation, and your future plans. That can feel overwhelming.
Right, and it's not just about sharing these details, it's about presenting them in a way that's organized and convincing. For many people, this requires a level of fluency in English that they might not feel comfortable with yet.
Another factor is the unpredictability. While there are common questions, interviewers may ask follow-up questions based on your answers. For example, if you mention that you're moving for a job, they might ask for details about the company or your role. You need to be ready to think on your feet.
And then there's the emotional side of it. Immigration interviews are high stakes. Your entire future might depend on the outcome, and that pressure can make it harder to think clearly or express yourself confidently.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Most of these challenges can be managed with preparation. If you understand what to expect and how to approach the interview, you'll feel much more in control.
That's what we're here to help you with today.
Let's dive into some of the common questions you might face in an immigration interview. Knowing what to expect can make a huge difference.
One of the most common questions is, why do you want to move to this country? This is your chance to explain your motivation. For example, you could say, I want to move to country because I've been offered a job opportunity that aligns with my career goals. Or, I want to reunite with my family who already live here.
Another frequent question is, can you tell me about your family? This could include details about your parents, siblings, spouse, or children. Be ready to talk about their professions, where they live, and how they're connected to your immigration process.
Then there are questions about your background, like, what is your current occupation? Or, can you tell me about your educational qualifications? These are usually straightforward, but require clear and concise answers.
One tricky question is, what are your plans for the future if your application is approved? For this, you want to show that you've thought about your long-term goals. You could mention pursuing higher education, contributing to the local community, or advancing your career.
Exactly. The key is to be honest, specific, and confident. Preparing answers to these questions in advance can make you feel much more comfortable during the interview. Mark, let's talk about structuring answers. This is something that can make a huge difference in how interviewers perceive you.
Absolutely. One of the best techniques for this is the STAR method, which stands for situation, task, action, and result.
I love the STAR method. Can you walk us through an example?
Of course. Let's take the question. Why do you want to move to this country? Situation. Start by describing your current situation. For instance, I've been working as a marketing manager in my home country for 5 years. Task. Explain what you're trying to achieve. I recently received a job offer from a company in country. Action. Share what steps you've taken. I researched the company and its projects, and I feel this role aligns perfectly with my skills. Result. Conclude with what you hope to achieve. I believe this opportunity will allow me to grow professionally and contribute to the industry in our country.
That's such a clear and effective structure. It not only helps you organize your thoughts, but also makes your answers sound more polished.
Exactly, and it works for so many questions, from explaining your work experience to discussing your future plans.
Let's move on to improving fluency and confidence. Mark, what's your go-to tip for this?
Practice is the foundation. The more you rehearse your answers, the more natural they'll feel. I recommend recording yourself answering common questions. Play it back to identify areas where you can improve your clarity or pronunciation.
I also think practicing with a friend or tutor is incredibly helpful. Simulating the interview environment can reduce anxiety and give you valuable feedback.
Another tip is to focus on key vocabulary. For example, if you're discussing your profession, make sure you know the relevant terms and phrases. This not only improves your fluency, but also shows the interviewer that you're prepared.
And don't forget about pronunciation. Mispronouncing words can sometimes make it harder for the interviewer to understand you. Apps like Elsa Speak or Forvo are great tools to practice your pronunciation.
Finally, work on managing your nerves. Simple techniques like deep breathing or mindfulness exercises can help you stay calm and focused during the interview.
Let's be real, not all questions are straightforward. How do you handle the tricky ones, Mark?
The first rule is, don't panic. If you don't understand the question, perfectly okay to ask for clarification. You can say something like, "Could you please rephrase the question?"
And if you need time to think, it's okay to pause for a moment. You can say, "That's an interesting question. Let me think about it for a moment." This shows that you're thoughtful and not just rushing through your answers.
If you're asked something you're not prepared for, try to redirect the conversation to something you're comfortable discussing. For example, if they ask about your hobbies, you could mention something related to your goals, like reading books about your profession.
The key is to stay calm and composed. Remember, the interviewer is not there to trick you. They just want to understand your story better. Let's do a vocabulary break. What are some keywords our listeners should know for immigration interviews?
Here are a few important ones. Permanent residency, the right to live in a country indefinitely. Example, I'm applying for permanent residency in Canada.
Sponsor, someone who supports your immigration application. Example, my spouse is my sponsor for this application.
Eligibility, meeting the requirements for something. Example, I've checked the eligibility criteria for this visa.
Future plans, what you intend to do in the new country. Example, I plan to pursue a degree in engineering. Building a strong vocabulary helps you communicate clearly and confidently. Let's share some real-life success stories. Mark, do you have one in mind?
Yes, a friend of mine was so nervous about her U.S. immigration interview. She spent weeks practicing with a tutor and even rehearsed in front of a mirror. By the time of her interview, she was calm, confident, and nailed it.
That's inspiring. I know someone who prepared by writing down answers to common questions and practicing them every day. Her preparation paid off, and she said it was much easier than she expected.
Preparation really does make a difference.
To wrap things up, immigration interviews might feel intimidating, but with preparation and practice, you can approach them with confidence.
Focus on clarity, structure, and staying calm. You've got this.
Thanks for joining us today. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'd love to hear your interview experiences. Share them in the comments.
Thanks for listening, and good luck with your interviews.